and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Board members, make sure your mics are on so we can hear you. Our roll call tonight, everybody's present. And board members, you have the agenda in front of you. Any additions or deletions? Okay, then the agenda stands as presented. And now we come down to some presentations. We have tonight the Schoolcraft College. I have a whole list of people. I'm going to forget your names already. Michelle Gainer, John Lamb, and Steve. All right. Welcome to the Township tonight. And this time we'll turn it over to you.
John, for those of you that don't know us, John is our controller and director of finance at Schoolcraft College, and I work in the marketing department. I'm the communications coordinator. We have a short video we want to show you that pretty much encapsulates the key points about the upcoming millage vote that we have on the November 3rd ballot. And the reason why we're out here in Salem Township is because the Schoolcraft College district serves those residents that live in these 5 school districts: Plymouth Canton Community Schools, Northville Public Schools, Garden City Public Schools, Livonia Public Schools, and the Clarenceville Public Schools. So, and obviously Salem Township falls into that realm. And we've made so far probably about 60 presentations out in the community, and we just want to make sure that people have the facts, have the information that they need to make an informed decision at the polls on November 3rd. So with that, we'll start the video, and then we'll open the floor for questions.
College will have a millage proposal on the November 3rd, 2015 ballot. Voters in the college district include residents in the Clarenceville, Garden City, Livonia, Northville, and Plymouth Canton public school districts. Residents will be asked to consider the millage proposal for operating funds, an increase of the current millage rate by 0.6 for 10 years. Based on a home with a market value of $100,000, the homeowner will invest an additional $30 per year, or $2.50 per month, in Schoolcraft College. Why now? Fiscally and economically, the college has been impacted by a perfect storm. Because of the economic downturn beginning in 2008, local property tax and state appropriation funding have decreased substantially. For example, over the course of the past 7 years, the college lost more than $29 million in local property tax income. No one is better than Schoolcraft College when it comes to student success. Schoolcraft College has the highest graduation transfer rate by far in the state, and we do it efficiently, with far less property tax levy resources than neighboring community colleges. Schoolcraft College stays relevant with new programs and innovative curriculum delivery that are in tune with the needs and interests of our community. Some of the new programs Schoolcraft College offers include a bachelor's degree in culinary arts and a certificate in brewing and distillation. Schoolcraft is the only community college in the state approved to offer the alternate route to teacher certification, addressing teacher shortage issues in the state. Responding to the needs of our community, the college has expanded English as a second language credit offerings. Innovative curriculum delivery methods recognize learning for today's students is very different than in the past. Dual enrollment is for high school students looking for an academic challenge and head start on college credits. Expanded offerings in online courses and open entry, open exit allows students to complete a course in only a week or two, or a time frame accommodating their schedule. SC Forward is an accelerated, fast-paced, shortened schedule for those looking to complete courses quickly with high intensity. SC Edge is a partnership with local high schools where students are taking Schoolcraft classes online, tailored to the school's needs. These efforts and innovations are resulting in Schoolcraft graduates being placed in high-paying jobs that until now were unfilled. For the past several years, Schoolcraft College has been working with Livonia Industrial Council, other professional organizations, and local businesses to create programs ensuring graduates are job-ready. If the millage is approved, Schoolcraft College will continue to provide high-quality programs and services to students, community members, local business and industry, while examining strategic improvements in areas of growth. The fields of science, technology, engineering, and math, known as STEM, represent a real-world, hands-on approach to learning. Some of our local schools have new STEM academies at all levels, even for elementary students. It's important that Schoolcraft extends opportunities in this growing area. The college will continue to develop more K-12 and university partnerships, such as transfer agreements that help Schoolcraft students pursue their higher education goals. Business and industry partnerships throughout our region will be expanded. To make the most of these partnership opportunities and ensure our students receive the best education available, Schoolcraft College will continue to make capital and technological improvements. The college will explore more ways to help our students reduce their educational debt. Schoolcraft College touches the lives of every age group in Western Wayne County. Starting with infants in Schoolcraft's Children's Center, young learners in the Kids on Campus program, and continuing education classes for adults and senior citizens. Schoolcraft College is an economic driver for the region. More than 85% of Schoolcraft graduates stay in Michigan, living, working, and contributing to the economy. 450,000 students have learned in the classrooms, experimented in the labs, and challenged themselves in the college's programs. Local businesses have accessed $1.5 billion in government contracts through the college's Procurement Technical Assistance Center. Economic modeling specialists estimates the net contribution of Schoolcraft College to the regional income is $511.4 million each year. Schoolcraft College is a quality institution, and sustaining it is crucial. If the millage is not approved on November 3rd, the college will need to make some difficult decisions that might include deferring capital and technological improvements. Financial support opportunities may not be possible, which may prevent some students from completing their education due to financial limitations. Student support services will be challenged. Budget reductions will negatively impact current programs. Ability to add new programs and remain current in fast-growing fields will diminish. Vacant positions may remain unfilled. Most of the recent improvements at the college, such as the Jeffers Center and the Public Safety Training Complex, are a result of bond financing, not part of the operating budget. These investments have allowed the college to expand resources for students and surrounding communities. While the college also has a number of unique revenue streams, none of these, along with budget reduction efforts over the past 7 years, can make up for the $29 million shortfall in property tax revenues since 2008, nor sustain the college in the future. Here are some of the important dates to keep in mind for the November 3rd election.
And John passed out to you before we started the presentation our basic FAQ. This is our primary piece that we're using to share information with folks. Another great resource for getting additional information and more details is our website, which is listed down at the bottom here. There's a copy of that video as well as some other information, and there's another video that kind of spotlights some of our students within the college as well. So, are there any questions? No? Okay. Thank you for your time. Please remember, I know some communities don't have any major issues on their ballots for this November, but please remember to exercise your right to vote and make your opinions known. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just a quick comment, it'll be voters in precinct 3 who are in the Schoolcraft College district. Some of you in precinct 3 might have Washtenaw Community College in your precinct 3. So So you could always look on your tax bill and you can see it'll show up printed on your tax bill what you are, so. And of course, it'll be at the Salem Elementary School in November. Thank you very much, John and Michelle.
Okay. Our next presentation tonight, Dan Jenkinson couldn't be with us today tonight for the Salem Community Event, so we have Linda Hamilton.
You would think with 5 officers at Salem Community Events, I wouldn't have to do this, but everybody else has an excuse for not being here tonight. For the last 10 to 15 years, the township had a real nice wood picnic table outside that we used every Flag Day as we prepared food. We enjoyed sitting at it and using it. In the spring, we watched it hauled away to the landfill after it had outlived its useful life. And so on behalf of Salem Community Events, we have presented to the township and the people of the township new picnic tables so that they can continue to enjoy that and we can continue to enjoy it for coming Flag Days. We also at this time want to thank the township board, this board specifically and previous boards, for supporting Flag Day by the use of the facilities. You now help us with providing for the tents and the porta-johns. We also want to thank your staff. Again, over the years, they've been very helpful. They put that information in the newsletter. And so on behalf of Salem Community Events, Mr. Whitaker, I'm going to present to you as a supervisor just a small token of our thanks.
Thank you, Linda. We sure appreciate that. I don't know if you've seen that picnic table out there, but it was pretty rough. So it was needed, and it's very nice out there. Now we can all have lunches out there together. So. Okay, so now we're down to public comment tonight.
I have something to say.
Yes, Rob.
So I have to stand here?
Sure.
Okay, great. I've had a concern about the expansion of the downtown here.
Landfill.
And I haven't seen any paperwork of where the lines are in that, where it's exactly being located. And so to me, it's somewhere on 6 Mile. There's other concerns about the value of the homes going around there. I'm not sure, does Northville Township know that this expansion is going to occur?
The supervisors and their administration does not. I'm not so sure of the neighbors around there, but they do.
Yeah. Well,
Heard about the extension.
Yeah, I know that Steeplechase, which is on 7 Mile, is extended to 6 Mile.
Right.
And the first phase, some of those people are selling and they're listed at 500,000. And we've had a lot of smells over this area. I live on 7 Mile. I live a mile away from there now, or probably a half a mile if the expansion takes place. And the water, there's a underground meridian there. It goes from the north side of 7 Mile all the way over to Napier and goes southeast. So I'm concerned about all these factors coming in. And I know that a long time ago, most of these people don't know who Howland was, who started that. And he sold it, but when he was renewing some things, he said, we'll just put a ski slope there, you know, when I'm done. Well, there's been 3 other owners since then. So I kind of want to know, I'm not sure about contracts, whether you give them a certain amount of time, or if they own the land, it doesn't matter. I know that you want money, but...
Oh, not this township. Not this township.
Well, a time back, there was a Johnson Controls that wanted to build an industrial place that would bring 5,000 people in. And that didn't quite get over with the township, which was a shame, because it would be 5,000 people employed. They would probably move out here. There would be new stores up. There also could be strip malls. I mean, we're just starting out. And the monies that might be coming in from the other place here, it might not mean anything in the future, an ongoing expansion. And I'd like you to consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Gary, that hasn't been approved yet, has it?
No. There's, as you know, the board appointed me to be on the Washtenaw County the Waste Committee there that meets every month now. There's been some, just basically been talking about it, but then we also formed a committee here in the township, and as of yet, we have not heard from the landfill or have actually met yet for the very first time about the expansion, to talk about the expansion. So we're still waiting for that, and we will keep everybody informed about what is going on with that as it happens. Okay, anybody else? Okay, if not, the consent agenda, Mr. Lindsay.
Mr. Supervisor, I move that Salem Township approve the following consent agenda items. The minutes of September 8th, 2015, regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Also, the disbursements for September. The general fund check roster of $151,018.98. These are checks 25,601 through 25,648. Also, disbursement from the escrow fund, $3,880. These are checks 1612 through 1614. We had payroll of $61,158.85. It cost us through Paycor $186.21 for that payroll. We had disbursements out of the sewer fund of $9,172.71. These are checks 1957 through 1959. We also have, for the month of October, the invoices out of the general fund of $78,393.11. Out of the sewer fund, invoices for $5,830.30. And finally, invoices out of the escrow fund for $6,135. Do you have a second?
I'll second. Okay, John Daniel seconds it. Any other discussion on the consent agenda? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is passed. I did, under supervisor's comment, miss if I can just go back up to supervisor's comments here. I do want to point something out here. I don't know if you've read in the paper about our school in the backyard here, Salem Elementary, of what an honor that they were awarded the Blue Ribbon School Award, which is a huge thing. As all these schools in Michigan, they were like the 13th ranked school, and which is going to be, they're going to be honored by government officials of education. This weekend, I had a family stop by the farm this week, and the one little girl runs up, and I said, "Hey, I hear you were named," and she says, "Yeah, the Blue Ribbon Award." And these kids are so excited. And one comment that just touched me when I read this in the article, that the greatest contributor to this success is the family-like atmosphere within the school walls, where the student population has grown by nearly 50% in the past 5 years. It has maintained the small school feel, which develops strong relationships with students and families. And I have to say something about that school. There's some, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if it was a year or 2 years ago, when they redistricted South Lyon schools, and some of the people from Lyon Township were more or less forced to, this is where your kids are going to go to school, and a lot of them were very upset about it. There were school board meetings where people protesting, and I can honestly tell you, this past year, some of the fundraisers that they have that I've been involved over there, these parents that live in Lyon Township are just so thrilled about this school and being part of this elementary school in Salem. It just shines throughout the community and just has such a great name. I think I can remember a few years ago, Clerk Trent at the time, I believe it was inspirational and talking and helping to keep that school there because it was slated for it to close. And now we see this community come together. They got a great principal, great teachers over there, and it just kind of reminds me, it doesn't necessarily mean more money or the best-looking schools that we see all around. It's an older school, but it's about the families and the students and the teachers, and that's what it's all about, I feel, as far as education. It's not always about the money. I know they're talking about millages tonight, you're raising money, but I think it's, you know, a whole lot more than money. It's about the families interested in their kids and the community involvement, and we should be very proud as a township to have this being nationally recognized in our township. So I wanted to mention that. Okay, so we're down to business items. The collective bargaining agreement. The board has gone over this. This has been I believe the committee that the board appointed had met 13 times, but as we know, it's been more than that. I'm sure phone calls amongst them. The people that were on that committee is, of course, our Chief Rockwell and Dale Converse, our treasurer, Augie Fernandez, he's here tonight, and Dan Vergary, and of course David Trent is our trustee. They have worked many hours on this contract to move forward on it. Also on the fire department side, Mark Himmler is here tonight. He's the union representative. Ryan Roselli, and who else am I missing? We got Joe O'Connor here tonight. That's part of the bargaining committee also, and that represents the fire department. So we're glad to have you all here tonight, and now it's time to, we've seen the contract, we've had some discussion about it, and now it's time to decide if this board wants to approve this contract that's before us. Mr. Trent, I believe you might have a motion on the table on this, and any other information you can provide to the public at this time.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I would like to move that the Salem Township Board of Trustees ratify the collective bargaining agreement between the Michigan Association of Firefighters and the Township of Salem for the contract period starting April 1st, 2015 through March 31st, 2019, and authorize Supervisor Whitaker to sign the agreement.
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Converse seconds it.
What were the dates again for the start?
Contract period is April 1st of this year, 2015, through March 31st, 2019. And Mr. Supervisor, I can only echo your words as far as commending the efforts of the bargaining committees from each side of the table. It was a very lengthy process, but a good one. And as we discussed in closed session tonight, there are a lot of good features that I think are a win-win situation. As with any negotiations, you give up some and you get some. And I think both sides walked away recognizing that we've got a good contract to work with and a good working relationship. And I think we can move forward with this and continue the great service to our community that our firefighters extend in helping protect our citizens and our businesses.
Great. Any other discussions? Okay. Then all those, at a second on the table, all those in favor of approving this? All right, all right. Let's do a roll call.
All right. Converse?
With great pleasure, yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
DeLuca?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Wensley, yes. And Whitaker?
Yes. Motion's passed. I forgot to introduce our, the attorney that helped us with this, Pat Azeltine, who had worked on for the township before and also on this contract, and we appreciate his service in getting it through this. So I wanted, sorry, I forgot to recognize you. So Okay, so it's passed and we have a contract and we do appreciate our firefighters. And Joe, thanks for all your,
May I?
you may, sir.
Just wanted to introduce myself, Joe Spokana from the Michigan Association of Firefighters, Mr. Trent and Converse, and, Hernandez and Gary. Thank you, gentlemen. I negotiate a lot of contracts, and sometimes things get a little heated. And it didn't happen here. The professionalism that all of you extended was greatly appreciated. We appreciate the support from the board, as well as the citizens of the community that support the firefighters. We look forward to working with you, continuing to work with you, and giving you the best fire department we possibly can.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Chief, I didn't mean to slight you either, I'm sorry.
All right, down to administration, the appraisal services proposal. I move that Salem Township approve Frischman Appraisal and Consulting LLC for the Pacific Appraisal and Consulting Services that is required to be utilized for the Township Assessor's Office and the State of Michigan Tax Tribune in the amount of $3,900. Preparations for trial, testimony, or any other oral presentation are not included in this fee. Fees for testimony and preparation are $150 per hour. Can I have a second on this?
Support.
Mr. Trent supports. Just a little bit of background. I don't know, Mr. Plato, if you can give me any help on this, but basically, this is over the Rayburn Golf Course over at 5 Mile and Napier Road. These tax tribunes that when people are saying their value, their property is not correct, they can take it to the tax tribune, which they have. We feel that it's been, what they're wanting to agree upon is way under considered what that property is worth. Most of the tax tribunes, I believe, do want a professional appraisal, so when they do go before the Michigan Tax Tribune, that we do have a professional appraisal to defend our assessor and as they present the case. And I know, Ed, I don't know if you or your counterpart there has helped with Bill Guthrie, our assessor, on this project.
The Supervisor Jessica Bond in my office has been working extensively with Bill on this, and we had tried to avoid retaining an appraiser on this matter as long as possible, but we have dates coming up in front of the Michigan Tax Tribunal. Next month, in fact, is the cutoff date for discovery, and in reviewing a number of the other cases in front of the tax tribunals, it was found in particular one case that I pointed out to the board, the Coyote versus Tyrone Township case. In situations, particularly recently, where there hasn't been an appraisal done on the property for the benefit of the township, the Michigan Tax Tribunal has taken the position that they're going to go with whatever the petitioner or the property owner, if they have an appraisal, they're going to go with that appraisal. So you need to have one appraisal offset the other in front of the tax tribunal, or else the tribunal basically thinks it's unopposed, and they'll take the property owner's number and go with that. In this case, the golf course was had filed a petition at the tax tribunal previously. There was a settlement reached with the township. They were given a substantial reduction in taxes, but now they're back wanting another further reduction, substantial reduction. So we feel that at this point they've reached the breaking point, and it's worth going forward and retaining the services of an appraiser to go to the front of the tax tribunal.
All right. Any questions on it? Any more questions on it?
The plaintiff in this case, Braeburn, since you've mentioned that the cutoff for discovery is coming up in the near future, we don't know what their appraisal is, but that'll come to light during the.
That'll come to light in the next month, so yeah.
There's 3 parcels on there, correct?
That's correct.
It's, I believe they're talking like $200,000.
They basically,
Just crazy. You know, anybody could buy a golf course for $200,000.
well, and the taxable value currently is about 200,000. They want to reduce it even further, so.
So it just doesn't make sense. We have
Doesn't make
to
sense.
defend ourselves on this matter. So. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed. Next on the agenda is the Mueller House remodeling bids.
I move that Salem Township approve the winning bid on 3 projects. Basically, the front entrance, the side entrance and ramp to meet zone, and new windows in the facility. Basically, we got 3 licensed contractors in the region to quote bid on this. However, one has to note that there would be more work to be done on the house, like painting inside, the generator, air conditioning, and also extra, painting the outside too.
Okay. Do we have a second on this?
I'll second it for discussion purposes. I think we should be all right.
All right, so Dave seconds this. The only question, John has been working hard on this project. I know I've met him over there a few times. For those of you who don't know, it's basically what we were planning on doing is next to the park right here, outside the back of us here, is the Mueller House, and to remodel that, to put the state police out there. They agreed to go out there, give more visibility to cars on the street, and then open it up for more township offices in the future, and now that we need some more space. So it looks like a lot of people came in with different bids, said they can do different projects, and this is what John has come up with some other people looking at it. The question would be is, do we, go out and try to get more of a company that, where we can advertise it and put it out in the paper to come in and see what their prices are. Basically, the front entrance and the side ramps for handicap accessible and windows is what this company has said they would do. But, again, we can take these and do them individually, or the policy that's been in the township in the past is to go out on a sealed bid process, and if we want to do it that way and see what kind of bids we get back on that, it would be my suggestion.
Well, number one, I thank John for going to these efforts and going in here, but I'm having a little bit of troubles not knowing what the total price is going to be, the total project, where it's going to end up. It's, when we start looking at generators, we start looking at a lot of other stuff that has to go with that in order to move those out there. I would really like to have more of a comprehensive, a full package before me in order to have a better understanding what the total cost is, because if we do this, then months down the line, we're gonna have to start coming back for generators, for electrical furnaces, whatever. And I just don't wanna get nickel and dimed to the point where we get something that we don't really know what we're really getting into, because I'd like to have more of a comprehensive price of what a total package is would be. Nothing to say that this isn't a good project, a good start, but I think this is just a start.
Well, John, help me out here. Basically, I think, other than doing the ramp for handicap accessible we talked about, doing some cosmetic work in the front of the house, and then the inside, if you've been inside, the floors are good, but we could, you put some carpeting and painting. And that's basically, other than the mechanical stuff inside, to make that house functional.
That's
Or-
correct.
So, I mean, you know, but the problem I think you've had, or at least we've had some discussion, is that to get somebody to come in and do the whole thing.
Right, yeah, they've kind of been hesitant to do
Yeah,
the whole thing.
Yeah, so you got some, you know, and that's why I'm saying, this is basically, I think what you have is the windows, the side exit ramp, and the front entrance. That kind of gives the facelift on the outside, and then we just have to work on the inside.
That's right, and then the intent was just do the painting separate. However, you know, if we want to give it another try and go back out and see if someone can do the whole thing, you know, we'll put it in the paper and let people bid on it and see how many bids we get.
Right.
Go from there. That's fine.
And do maybe a seal bid.
Okay.
Any questions down here?
I'm comfortable with that process, and you know, to that end, you know, there's other vendors that have quoted work for the township in the past that could be contacted and see if they would like to bid on this project as well, too. And we can provide those names to John to help with the vendor optimization.
And I just think having more of a total price would give us a better idea of what we have to do budget, from a budget standpoint. I think we need to have that process.
And just to echo what Dale just shared, when you look at what we've budgeted for the year, I don't know if the magnitude of the project has grown or if the numbers, because of what's happening with the rebounding economy, that construction costs are higher. But we had budgeted $50K for general township investments in repairs, capital improvements. And we're going to talk about for a discussion about the entryway doors. And when, you know, you look at the potential cost to replace those on top of the total cost that it might take to bring the Mueller House up to speed, you know, you know, we definitely would have to revisit that budget number to see how much are we willing to spend this fiscal year to accommodate those projects.
So does that mean I don't get an office?
Not yet.
All right. All right, so, John, if you're willing to backtrack on your motion, Mr. Trent will, I think what we're talking about is putting it out for bid and trying to do somebody, maybe putting in a newspaper article and see if somebody would be willing to bid the whole thing.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
Has any of our inspectors looked at it, just to get more of a detailed, you know, electrical or?
We've talked
Is
to
the-
Dave and Larry, they both have looked at it. I mean, there need to be some minor upgrades on some of the electrical stuff, but
Okay,
other than that, it's sound.
somewhat solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of a detailed list of, you know, the repairs
Right.
needed, and then cost factors there would give us an overall
Right.
picture of what we're gonna be spending.
All right.
Supervisor Whitaker?
Yes.
Procedurally, has trustee Daniel withdrawn the motion then?
Yep, okay, then I go ahead and withdraw it.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my second.
And he withdraws a second. Okay. On to the next item. I move that Salem Township approves the extension of the one-year lease between Dennis Batiste Farms LLC and Salem Township for the Salem Farm Preserve. Second on that?
Second.
Any discussion on this?
Gary, what's your reasoning?
What's that?
What's your reasoning for VTCM?
Because they, the agreement that what, they put a parking lot in there, they put, cleaning up some of the other debris that has not been talked about before, the land preservation. Board met with them out there on the properties, and they said that they would, pay us the same amount still do these services for us.
This is a contract that Mr. Plato has submitted to the board via email.
Yes.
It's not going out for bid?
No.
I figured that wouldn't happen.
We've extended the Donahue Farms before, we've also done the Bowmans before, and this is a good deal, I believe, for the township. That's why I think we should do this for another year. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now I move that Salem Township approve the winning bid for the sign project for the Salem Farm Preserve from Donner Signs in the amount of $5,768.52. Can I have a second on that?
I'll second.
AJ seconds. And submitted in your board packet is the sign. The signage that will be a double-sided sign. I believe on there, the only one thing that's missing is this, when it was established in 2014. And that'll be a double-sided sign there on the Salem Road. And then on the Brookville side entrance, there will be also a one-sided sign. Any questions on this? You've seen these, right? You have them in your board packets? The funding for this is, would be paid out of the fund that was set up for, actually the leasing of the farming that's off there. I don't know how much money is in that, but I'm sure that's from that. Okay, any other questions on this? One, right underneath there it says Supervisor Whitaker, Township Supervisor. Any objections to that? Just teasing, just teasing. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion's passed. Okay, snow removal services. Mr. Trent, do you have any information on this?
Yes, I do, Mr. Supervisor. Board members, as you will recall, over the last couple of years, we've extended the contract with Ultra Unlimited Services for snow removal. Most of us are very familiar with Sharon Bell, who's a resident of the hamlet, and her firm has done an outstanding job of servicing our township campus for snow removal the last couple of years. Snow or salt skyrocketed in price last year. Over the last 3 years, going back 3 years ago, we paid $7,450. The year after that, we paid $7,000, but that was with a special arrangement where we made a one-time lump sum payment. And then last year, with the price of salt skyrocketing, we paid $8,200. This year, Sharon has come in with a quote of $7,995 to extend the contract for 1 year, to be broken up over 3 payments. First payment would be $5,000, and then the balance would be broken up in 2 subsequent payments, so 3 payments altogether, totaling $79.95. Price of salt has come down a little bit since last year, but the price has not been firmed up to a lot of the vendors in the snowplow business. So things are still up in the air a little bit, but the price has come down from last year. My recommendation, Mr. Supervisor, that I'll make in the form of a motion is that we agree to this price contract for 1 year and then plan to go out for a formal bid next year and see what the marketplace is. And hopefully we'll have a better feel for what the salt conditions are going forward. So I'd like to move that Salem Township approve extending the contract of Ultra Unlimited Services in the amount of $7,995, covering 3 payments. First payment of $5,000, the other 2 payments to be broken up equally with the balance for snow removal, and to waive Section 8A of the Salem Township Purchasing and Bid Policy that requires 3 bids to be obtained.
I'll second it.
Winsley seconds. Any other discussion on this? Hopefully it doesn't snow quick. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, down to advanced disposal. Mr. Trent, you want to handle this?
Be happy to, Mr. Supervisor. I move that Salem Township approve advanced disposal to install several wells on the 80-acre parcel north of 6 Mile as identified in the host community agreement between Arbor Hills Landfill and Salem Township in order to complete their hydrogeological investigation.
I'll second that.
Gary, what does that mean?
Fellow board members, in your packet, you've seen a letter that was sent to Supervisor Whitaker requesting the township to approve the drilling of several wells, not only on the 80 acres that's on the western end of the map drawn in your board package, but also on the rest of the acreage that Advanced Disposal owns on the north side of 6 Mile. You'll recall a couple months ago, Dave Rattel came to this board and asked that a committee be formed to begin the process of discussing the potential expansion of the landfill, and that we appointed Supervisor Whitaker to be the township representative to the county landfill waste 5-year plan. And this is really step 1 in the process. Heretofore, I think maybe some of us may have made an assumption that since the landfill was approaching us for a potential expansion, that they've already determined that the property on the north side of 6 Mile has the potential to hold landfill waste. That is not the case. This is step 1 in the process of determining does the acreage on the north side of 6 Mile have merit to be even considered for landfill usage. And so with the 2009 landfill host agreement expansion that was approved back at that time, 80 acres was deeded to the township, which the township would take ownership of at the closure of the landfill. Obviously, with this dialogue, the landfill is coming to us to say, we'd like to try to utilize those 80 acres in the whole package, so they're asking for us to give them permission to drill some wells on our deeded property for the future in the sites that you see located. And if the hydrogeological analysis comes back negative, they will refill the wells and the borings to state regulations. If they find out that the property does have merit, obviously that'll come up in discussion with the county committee and also our local committee to begin the dialogue of what is that 80 acres worth from a financial standpoint going forward. So again, this is just step 1 in the process.
Thank you, David.
Hey, why would you let them do something like that with our property if there's no paperwork been signed?
We're not, we're just approving that right now. We're just talking about it right now.
More hot dogs.
Okay, any other discussion on this?
How long will these wells need to be in place, and is there any contamination to the water? Drinking water at some of the depths I've seen are 100 feet. Are there any issues there, or
That's part of what the analysis will show, Reggie. They're trying to determine the flow of the water from the north side of 6 Mile. They already have a pretty good feel based on, the water analyses that have been done to date on the south side of the road. But This is to make that determination on water flow, depth of the water, soil compositions to see, again, does the property have the potential to be used as part of their landfill expansion desires? And if it doesn't, then that whole idea will come to a screeching halt pretty quickly. If it does have merit, then obviously the discussion ensues with not only our local committee, but the county as well. That has to approve that expansion.
So they're basically test wells, and again, at no time frame, how long they stay in place.
We don't know the answer to that, based on the conversation I had with Mr. Blanton. We'll follow up on that, so, share that at the next meeting.
I agree with you, though.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, Mr. Lindsley.
I move that Salem Township approve the following cost center budget amendments for this current fiscal year. Out of the community development account, 706, we have the building inspector's pay. The current budget is set at 40,000. We need to revise this budget allocation up to 70,000. Out of the same community development account, 706.002, we have the heating and plumbing inspector's pay, $17,000 budget currently. We need to revise it to 22,000. And just to make a quick comment here, basically our revenues for building is it's just booming. We have so many more permits now in the building process that if you notice in the building inspector's pay, his pay rate is almost at 100% of the 40,000 currently, and we still have 6-7 months to go. So we've got to raise the budget, and same with the heating and plumbing. So Salem Township is having a lot of building going on at the moment. So now we go to the next account. This is the drains. We have account 817.003. Right now we have budgeted only 15,000. We need to revise that to 25,000. And also the account 801.009 for IT consultants. We have budgeted 10,000, but we need to revise that to 15,000. And these offsets will be charged against the contingency fund at the end. So we have any, well actually, do we have a second on any of these?
Second.
Okay,
Questions?
any other discussion?
As far as the IT consultants, I think it's time that we go out for RFP to look for other competition, because we've had Tower for a long time. And I kind of think that we should probably do due diligence in looking out to see if there's more people out there doing the same thing, whether we have the best rate here or why not. I talked over with them, and they're fine with that. So I think in the future, I think we'll approve this.
Yes.
But I think as going forward, I think we should go for RFP from another IT consultant or for bid.
Does anyone know how long we've had Tower? I just thought of it.
I have the contract and it's 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, we probably,
Late 2009.
2009.
the increase for the drains, the reasoning there.
When we first set this budget back last, probably February and March, we didn't, I think it was approximately the same as it was last year. A month or two ago, actually last meeting, I believe, we approved the new drain, the new portion of the Salem Township's portion of the drain amount, and I think it was like $24,800 or something like that, so we just, we have to make that fit into the budget. Sure.
Mr. Supervisor, if I could just add, one of the other offsets that we might be able to take advantage of in future budget amendments is that just looking at the income to date, where we try to budget very conservatively, we budgeted $150,000 of income for the building department, and we're already up to 110. So realistically, for another 6 months, we might hit 200,000. So that's going to help offset these increases in the salary adjustments that we're making right now.
You can see the offsets will be offset against the revenues underneath the building inspector.
All right, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed.
Okay, I've got two motions that were made last month, and unfortunately, our Donna, one of our planning coordinators, forgot to put these in the newspaper, so we basically have to redo these once more, and we'll make sure that she gets them in the newspaper. So I move that Salem Township approve the adoption of the attached rezoning application 14-006 to zoning ordinance 2015-10-13-01, as recommended by the Planning Commission, detailed in the approved minutes of the Planning Commission dated 2/23/15, 3/16/15, and 8/17/15, including copies of the letters of opposition, Township Planner's report, and a copy of the public hearing ad, including the list of properties proposed for rezoning. Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
The next motion is to approve the text amendment that we also approved last month, but again, not put in the newspaper in time. So the text amendment, which adds recreational facilities, private membership, or restricted access as conditional land use in the PSP district. I have a second on that as well.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? No discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Okay, so now we're down to clerk revenue expenditure reports as submitted. Fire Department, Chief Rupp.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. First of all, Board, thank you for approving the CBA. Thank you for spending the time to understand the contract. The township negotiators spent many, many hours, as well as the firefighters. Thank you for taking the time to understand it and approving it. Also, we have before you is our run total for the month of September. We had 33 calls. We are starting to see an increase with car accidents and pin-ins. We've been focusing on our response times and getting patients out of cars that are trapped in cars, but we're still seeing a number of them on our roads. And I think it's because we're too limited in high speed. So with that aspect, the deer are starting to run. We are seeing deer strikes. Thankfully, we've not had any injuries, but we've had a couple accidents that already occurred in the township with people hitting deer. So as fall comes around, especially like on Salem roads or some of these back roads, all I can say is slow down, because I've hit them and they're all about and they're starting to run again. Lastly, I would say that our run times are still excellent, under 7 minutes. And we're coming into the winter months, so we typically see an uptick in need for responses. And we see an uptick in chimney fires. So if you're using chimneys for the first, or if you have a fireplace for the first time of the year, we always highly suggest that you get it cleaned, because I guarantee we'll get 2 or 3 chimney fires for the heating season. So as it gets cold, think about paying that lady or gentleman to come out and clean that chimney up, because we inevitably every year get a couple of chimney fires. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay. So the law enforcement reports we have, and under board discussion, general township updates. Anybody have any updates? We're still waiting on the sewer and water that they keep talking about, the USD, that the developers are going to pay for. We still have been talking with Plymouth Township, and there's different engineers that are working on that project to see if there is capacity just to service the USD, and that's a report that I think a lot of people are waiting for. I could almost guarantee you, if that does happen, that something is going to happen at that corner sooner than later, if they have the capacity. But now it's just a matter of waiting to see what's going to happen. So that's all the news I have on the USD. Any other things you need to talk about? How about the county, this warning siren? We have more information on that?
Mr. Trent and I have been working on that. I defer to Mr. Trent.
Yes, fellow board members, you'll recall earlier this year, we approved a motion to spend $4,375 to participate in a new warning siren that would cover the southwest corner of the township. When we made that motion, we predicated that on the neighboring communities joining in to share that cost on a quarterly basis. As it has turned out, for a number of reasons, 2 of those townships have opted out of wanting to spend the funds to acquire that siren that would cover the southwest corner. Ann Arbor Township is still committed to investing the monies for that siren, because they have a plan to buy several sirens to cover their entire township, and that's just one element of their coverage plan. And so they have come back to us to advise us that Northfield and Superior Townships have said thanks but no thanks at this time. And they are getting ready to pull the trigger at their board meeting next week to allocate the funds to buy the sirens as part of their plan. So they're coming back to us to let's find out, are we still willing to share in the cost of that one siren? And if we are, instead of $4,375, we'd be looking at twice that amount. And then for the annual maintenance fee, instead of $125, it would be $250. So annually or quarterly? And this is with West Shore Services, and they are the primary vendor for warning sirens throughout Washington County. So that's the dilemma that we're faced with. Each of these sirens costs $17,000 and change. And one of the brainstorms that the chief and I were kicking around is that if we wanted to try to piggyback with what Ann Arbor Township has acquired in a quote process, potential of development in the southeast corner of the township, would we want to spend the monies to get a siren located in that part of the township now in preparation for the future? Or do we want to see if Mr. Shostak wants to buy it in a couple of years?
My question is where, if they, right now, you know, I have a friend that lives at that location where we were kind of talking about, which would be Joy and Dixboro, is that correct?
Yes.
When there was a bad storm here a few years ago, I was in his vehicle and heard a siren there. I don't know where it's coming from, we believe it was Superior Township. So my question is not to be cheap on it, I'm just saying, well, if we don't do it, they end up putting one there anyway, don't we get the benefits from it? I mean, we do, we're gonna hear it.
Well, you know.
Is that not the reason why Northfield and Superior are doing that?
Well, the reason, part of the reason is maybe with Northfield is financial. Another factor is that they feel there isn't enough population base to justify it. But as Chief Thurston from Ann Arbor Township explained to me, is that the rationale for the warning sirens isn't so much for people that are inside the house, because if you're inside the house and a bad storm comes, at least you've got some level of protection. Warning sirens are really designed to warn people that are outside that you better go somewhere and get some cover. And so even though it may have a low population count, you know, those are the kind of people that might be working outdoors, might be on a horse, you know, those kinds of things. And this provides you know, a level of protection by having those warning sirens in place.
But did we ever find out where the closest one is? Because I heard the siren.
Well, and here's the other thing, depending on coverage of the trees with leaves, which way the wind is blowing, how strong the wind is, the siren you heard, Mr. Supervisor, could have carried much further than the 1 mile radius that these sirens are designed to cover. So either you have excellent hearing,
And I do.
what'd you say? But, you know, this is one of those issues where, you know, do we, you know, try to work collaboratively with our neighboring communities and make that investment today, and get the benefit for our citizens, so that, you know, down the road, we can possibly get some reciprocation in some other matters, so. You know, it's twice as much money.
Okay, well, let's go down to the handicap accessible doors for township offices. This entrance here is something that needs attention to. If you walk out tonight and look at some of the doors and how they're rotting and problems, they need to be replaced. We have gotten some bids on it. I don't think anything has been finalized. I think one was like $20,000.
In that ballpark, and Mr. Whitaker and I have been working with a couple of vendors to try to understand what our options are. Our first vision was potentially to put in one of those automatic sliding doors. And as we discussed that prospect with some vendors, we determined that with the size of the lobby and the configuration of the door setup, that maybe that really wasn't the most optimum setup. So we're going back to the vendors and asking them to re-quote, replacing the entry doors and also replacing the doors to the meeting hall and to the main lobby area. And one vendor has already submitted that quote. Another vendor will have that by the end of the week, and we've been able to find a third vendor through the help of Supply and Schools that is one of the largest contractors for supplying that type of work in southeast Michigan. So by the next meeting, we'll have some firm quotes for what we're looking for specifically, so that we're looking at an apples to apples, because right now we've got a mixture of stuff that people have submitted, but we've gone back and asked them to re-quote based on these requirements that we're looking for now.
And the handicap
Right,
door, automatic doors,
Two
coming
doors.
in from the parking lot and also to the office.
That's correct.
But not this side.
That's right.
But these doors really need to be replaced. If you look Yeah, one doesn't even, open up, or you gotta.
Yeah, these doors are basically about 30 years old, so, you know, it's gonna, doors aren't cheap. And so that's where, you know, when you look at the cost of these doors plus, you know, the project that we were talking about earlier tonight, we'll probably need to go back and revisit that capital expenditure budget line item.
Would it also need a little post outside where you would hit it?
Right.
And it would open up?
Right.
You gotta bring electricity out there? or-
And that's work that would be our responsibility. They're asking us to supply the electrical power to those. They'll install it, but we need to provide the wiring.
The other concern that I have is in the sidewalk that's outside of the north door. In the wintertime, that thing is heaving. That needs attention. So I think if we're gonna go ahead and do a project improvement here, that we should include in that thing that needs to be replaced, fixed. That's a safety issue.
Could I also add that maybe we look at the fire doors as well, we're having some challenges with that. If they're looking at, we've looked at maybe jacking some of the concrete, we get a lot of heat and frost in there. Particularly the far door on the east side, the threshold is starting to go. So if you do have a door person, it would be helpful before it becomes a safety hazard.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Okay.
Mr. Supervisor, I'm gonna stick my neck out. I know we had the discussion about the sirens, but I'm going to move that Salem Township approve the expenditure of $8,750 to go in conjunction with Ann Arbor Township for the purchase of a warning siren to cover the southwest portion of the township.
Do we have any seconds? I don't think we have a second.
I stuck my neck out.
I would like to see us look and see where the sirens are placed around there and where they're thinking of putting it,
I'll work on getting some coverage maps. The county emergency operations Center should have coverage maps of all the sirens in Washtenaw County. We're a little bit unique, because of the fact we're cited by, you know, Oakland and Wayne and other counties. We really probably need to look at theirs as well, because I'm sure there's bleed over from theirs. And so maybe Mr. Trent and I could.
It's pretty loud. It was loud.
I'm sure. And it's a fickle thing. It is very dependent upon the weather conditions. And the recommendation I would have is buy a weather radio and put it someplace that'll hear this.
Okay.
Which we do have.
We're down to public comment. Yes.
I'd just like to make a comment on two items regarding advanced disposal, that where possible, to take into consideration the park on the east side of Napier Road. Johnson Creek Protection Group was an advocate with Northville Township getting that park set up, and I can tell you from our experience in the last 8 years that when there is work done on the west side of Napier, it affects the pond and the tributary that runs through that park. So I'm very interested in what these wells are going to show. And the other thing is, we not only need to be concerned about deer, there's a population of at least 30+ wild turkeys that have been moving from Curtis to Napier, 5 to 7. They fragment into 12, 18, whatever. But when they're all together,
That's good.
thank you. I study birds amongst other things. You know, it's a problem for your car, and they don't move out of the way very quickly. I figure in our neighborhood that everybody could take one out for, you know, Thanksgiving dinner, and there's still plenty there.
Or stop building houses and let them have a place to live.
You're welcome.
Bonnie?
Yes, I'd like to know what happened to the bid process, going out for bids with the RFPs and everything. I heard 4 different bids, probably, from this table that were either already sent out, and I never knew, because I've been in all the meetings, I never knew that they were going out, and I don't think they were in the paper. It didn't sound like they were in the paper, and I thought that was part of the rules and regulations for this place.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we were just saying. Anything over, I believe it's $10,000,
You think doors aren't gonna cost more than $10,000?
we're just getting pricing on to see what it's gonna actually cost us. But
That's what bids do.
we're just
You
getting
say
some
in the paper,
people
as
recommending.
Mr. Trent knows, when we went out for bids for the building that they never built, that you go to the people and you say, this is our criteria, give us a bid. And for remodeling a house, oh, it's gonna cost a fortune. So, yes, you get it out in the paper before you say, you get 3 people that you know that might wanna take the job, or 2 people that you're friends with, or whatever. That's not the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah, but Bonnie, you really have to come back here on those doors out there, because the main structure on those aluminum beams is gone. There
Guess
isn't
what?
anything there.
Still
Now-
for the bid out.
It's a whole lot of
Now,
money.
the problem here is, how do you want to replace them? That is kind of the question we're coming back here. So if you go out to a bid and you don't know what you're asking for, you're not gonna get bids of what you want. So the bottom line is, we have to do due diligence in figuring out what kind of it is. Once we know which direction we wanna go, we will put an RFP in, that will go out for, this is the amount of work that you're gonna do. Then you're gonna get people giving you estimates on the exact same work, not everybody helter-skelter doing their own thing.
And the windows and the ramps or whatever for the Mueller house, that's not gonna cost gonna cost under 10 grand?
That's the reason why I said what I said. It needs to go out for an RFP.
Right. But
Well, and when you're talking about the Mueller house and these doors here, why don't you get somebody to bid the whole project? And save us some money. Save us
we've
some
actually
money.
had one person come out, actually the person that did some of the work in here, this summer, was looking at everything. But then he started backing away from a bunch of stuff, so.
Put it out for the whole.
It's
project.
good to get as many people in here to look and give us some ideas what to do with the doors out there especially. Okay, anybody else? Berman?
I'd like to mention, ask, a new construction in the landfill on the north side. Is there gonna be a composite liner put in it? What about the wells to the west? You know, we had to put in a wall to keep the gases from blowing up them buildings. I've got some pictures home if you wanna see them.
Slurry wall.
And, those things can happen, so you should keep those things in mind when you're drilling for this stuff. And when you, once put the fill them, then you got gases that we've had explosions there too. So if you keep that in mind when we're doing it. That's all.
Okay. Thanks, Don.
I think before you make any more moves with the landfill, you ought to take into consideration the people that live around it before you dive into something like that. They're more important than the landfill. A few years ago, Bob Urick done a thing about cancer around the landfill, and you ought to see the results. What happened? From that. So I think you guys are, don't worry about how much money you're going to get from those people or whatever. Worry about the people.
anyone else?
When the Ryder House needed a bunch of work done on it, approximately $30,000 worth of work, the first step is determining what it is you want to do with the building, what it's going to be used for, and what it needs. Haphazard or piecemeal is not going to cut it. If you want to do, and this was why we not, as on the maintenance committee, this is not why we started, but we also added in things like painting the fire station doors, painting different things here, and had one person doing it all at the same time. But the first thing, as Mrs. Cook said, is to understand the township's bid policy. If it's over $2,500, it has to go out for bid. If it's over $10,000, it has to be a sealed bid where the public is invited to the opening of the bids, which we did. We had a general contractor that not only did the foundation, they did a lot of the work upstairs structurally. One person in charge, that way we knew who was responsible. Okay, you pick one person, make that person responsible. It's the easiest way to go when you have 10 different things going on. But the first thing to do is figure out what it is you need. If you need 10 different things over there, you have to write them out and have a bid. You have a bid procedure, you have the specifications, but you can't know what the specifications are until you talk to someone. In that respect, you're right. But understanding the bid policy comes first. When I FOIA'd the credit cards in August, they seemed unusually high. You guys, it's never over $6,000, which it was in August. It seems Mr. Converse doesn't know the bid policy because he charged $6,100 on the credit card to something called App River. And to the best of my research, it is some type of email server, which begs the question, since nothing was ever discussed about paying this amount of money for this particular thing, and I saw no bids, no questions whatsoever about it, $6,100 was put on a credit card with no backup other than a bill. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? I do have one thing I'd like to share with the public tonight. First of all, I have a couple issues that were raised during last month's public comment. First, I want to make it perfectly clear that public comment is always welcome here and always is encouraged, because I think it's healthy and we want to encourage it. I think it's important. But I would hope that any resident who has questions or concerns about the township would at least give us the courtesy to understand what you're talking about. Now, if, you know, I personally have given my cell number, I encourage people to call, to have discussions with us. They can come in here. You don't have to be honest with you, the FOIA process, it's fine, it's all fine and dandy, but you can come directly, I believe, to any person here on this board and ask questions about anything that goes on in the township. But at first, before you do public comment, you would think that you would give us the opportunity to, if you have a problem or you have a question, why wouldn't you come to us directly and talk to us about before coming into during public comment? So I would ask so that we can address it, so that we can give you an answer. I just believe is fair. You know, a couple of things that this board has promised when we ran was that number one was to get the legal fees under control, and also to bring back respect to the government of Salem. You know, I went back the first year, the legal fees were $531,000. The next year, $270,000. This board has been watching the legal fees. Our first year, we budgeted $100,000. We were at 130, went over 30, and it's because of a lot of issues that this board had not created. This past year, we were under budget at $80,000. And it is our goal amongst these people that sit up here that we address these issues and that we don't spend foolish money on just legal fees, on fighting things that can be sometimes handled by just communication and to discuss things openly. Lastly, the concern about uncollectible property taxes. I want to make this perfectly clear. I could care less about who was having struggles during recessions or whatever time. The list of people, list of businesses that were listed is really none of my concern. All it was to put on there that these businesses or people that it had to be, they were uncollectible funds, and that we could not collect them, and it didn't matter who it was. So, but to accuse the board of not knowing who these people are, to be honest with you, I'm talking for myself, I really don't care who it was. It just was our duty to take that off the rolls because it's mandatory that we do it. And, I really do not care what people think of me, but I do care about the people that sit to the right and to the left of me. These people, the trustees, I think it's $600 take tax out a month to serve the public. And they do a great job. And again, I see how they ask questions. I see how they, before a board meeting, when they sit down here, they are prepared. They know what the information is. If they need something, they call me. It's a great feeling to have people like this working together to make our township a great township. And, we can go back to the old days. I can remember the prior supervisor telling me out in the parking lot. He says, I just hope that you can have a board that you can work with. And I do have a board that I can work with. They are not all yes people. You might see the votes that come across here might be saying that they might be yes votes, but if you look at what we're voting on, a lot of it is common sense stuff. And I appreciate these people, and I know you as residents, if you get the time, don't worry about me, because I'm fine.
Well, we
But
won't.
These people need to be commended for their job and their service to people of Salem Township. But to ask them to resign, or to saying that they're not doing their job, is just wrong.
Gary,
And I
just
appreciate
remember
it.
one thing.
Listen, this
We
is my
pay your-
time,
we
not
pay
your
your
time.
wages,
This is
remember.
my time, not your
Yeah,
time.
we pay your
You have
wages.
public comment next time.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate the encouragement from the public and again, these people that sit up here. And I'd appreciate, again, if you have any concerns, please come in, and we can give you any of the information you have. And I do appreciate your support, and I just believe we have a great township. Okay? Thank you so much, and we're adjourned at 8.
Well, we pay his wages.
Is it right?
Yes,
Battery
new battery in it.
Put in the budget for a new clock.